This is part 5 of my absolute monster video about mental abuse and toxic friendships. Throughout the video, or parts of the videos should I say, I will be talking specifically about one ex-friend of mine who throughout the video I refer to as Jane, as well as another friend of mine who I will refer to as Shannon. Shannon being the person I am still friends with, and how both Jane affected both of us. Links to all parts will be in the description below. And so yeah, here's the rest of the video. Enjoy. But like, she would just do things like that when I was up in London. Once when I was in London, I think it was a Saturday or a Sunday, I can't remember, but we basically stayed up to about 4 in the morning, I'm not even joking, 4 in the morning, this is here in England, 4 in the morning, screaming and shouting at me about I don't know what. And she'd calm down, and I'd think, oh, okay, fine, I can go to fucking sleep now. And then she'd start again. She'd start screaming and shouting and just saying all these horrible things, saying lies and stuff like that. Once we went to Debenhams because she wanted to try out bras, and there was a couple that I got and I wanted, and then on the way back to her dorm room, she turned again, and I was talking to Shannon at the time. She was in Germany. I think she was on a trip or something, I'm not sure. I need to ask her about that actually. And she did a turn and she basically started shouting at me in the street. She tried to walk in front of a taxi at one point. And I grabbed her and pulled her back, and I was like, no. She was like, just let me fucking die, screaming at me in the street. In the end, she calmed down enough that we actually went back to her dorm room. And then she started again. She started crying. She started screaming. She started saying I hated her. She just started asking me all this shit. And then in the end, she calmed down enough. And she was like, oh, I'm just hungry. I get like this when I'm hungry. I'm like, yeah, of course. And in the end, I went into the common room and got this fast food menu. And so we bought food, and yeah, she was alright after that. But at the same time, like, I was in London and I had pre-bought tickets, so I had a specific train on the Monday morning that I had to be back to be on to get home. So when she's doing this on sort of like a Saturday or a Sunday, or yeah, even a Sunday, I have nowhere to go in London. Like, there's no like sort of travel lodges or anything like that around her dorm room. Well, actually, there was a travel lodge across the road, but it was probably always fully booked. But I had like nowhere to go because I had these pre-bought tickets, and I'm not spending £40 on a last minute ticket just to go home. Like, considering I live in the south and London's about an hour and a half, 2 hour, depending on what train you get, train journey home. I didn't have anywhere to go or anything like that, so literally the only thing I could do was to stay in there and try and calm her down. I mean, at one point of time, she threw something at me. It was only a cuddly toy, but she still threw something at me. At one point, she had a knife, and she was like, she wanted to cut herself, and she was just going, she was crying, and she was going, I just want someone to stop me. And I'm thinking, just do it. And I had to pretty much, like, force this knife off of her. I could have been seriously hurt, because, like, when she's like that, she's really unpredictable. You can't predict how she's going to be. And she was just literally just sobbing and crying, saying she wanted someone to stop her. And it's a natural psychological thing that if someone has a weapon, a lot of people won't do anything about it because they're scared that they're going to get hurt. And this is why I didn't really want to do anything, because I didn't want to get stabbed, like, once, twice, however many times. I don't care. I don't want to get stabbed. I don't want to get hurt. So, in the end, I did get the knife off of her. Well, when I say in the end, it was about, what, 5 minutes? I literally got the knife off of her, and I put it in the box, and I hid it, so she couldn't get hold of it. And it's just, like, what are you supposed to do in those sort of situations? When you're stuck in a city that's, like, an hour and a half, 2 hours away from where you live, you've got a prepaid ticket, you've got nowhere to go, what can you do? Like, the whole, like, in the end, I also started dreading going up to London, like, because I didn't really want to spend all that time. I didn't know what was going to happen. It was unpredictable. It's the same with Shannon. Whenever we used to go around her house, like, you never know what would happen. Like, generally you could predict that after it would happen, an argument would ensue. And I mean, at the point, Shannon actually said to me, sorry, I've got something here, she probably sits there like a tea bag brewing stuff, and I just lost it when she said that, because it's just, like, sits there like a tea bag brewing stuff, and I was like, but it's so accurate, it's true, because that's probably what she does. Like, I don't want to sort of slander her or anything, but it just seems like she sits on these things, like the incident with the Ant-Man film. She kind of just sits there on these things, and why is that flashing? And it just kind of happens, and you're like, where do you get this from? Like, this happened like 2 months ago.